Hello and welcome to the Jake and Gino Podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, one of the co-founders of Jake and Gino. And in today's show, we're welcoming Pete Neubig, the co-founder and CEO of VPM Solutions. With decades of experience in real estate, Pete has been a leader in the industry since 2001, both as a passive and lead investor. Now he's channeling his expertise to revolutionize how real estate professionals connect with virtual team members worldwide through VPM Solutions. Welcome to the show, Pete. How you doing, brother?
Gino, you got like the radio perfect voice, man. Like you are the podcast voice. I love it. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Listen, we were ranting and raving a few minutes ago about what's going on, current climate, current situations, but I want to learn about Pete Neubig and how all of a sudden VPM. I mean, I want to hear the journey of real estate and how you ended up becoming an entrepreneur and the story.
I'm a little long in the tooth, so I'll give you the quick synopsis, and I'll try to make it entertaining for everybody. Okay, so like most people listening, I grew up where my family asked me to go get a good education, and I can go get a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got like a semi good education. I got a semi good job, right? And I was living that life, and I was in IT at the time. This is back in like 1992. IT was kind of big, so I picked at least a industry with a tailwind. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there, but man, I got to tell you, Gino, one day I'm sitting in my office, and meanwhile I'm making like six figures now. I'm about 30 years old, 31 years old. I'm sitting in my office, and I'm like, there's got to be something better.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about business at the time. And so I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which we're all familiar with. And I actually, do you remember Carlton Sheets?
Yeah, I love Carlton Sheets. Yes.
I love that guy because for 50 years, he says the same exact thing, right? So he never leaves his story. But so what I decided is like, hey, I can go buy properties. I got a good W-2 job. I'm making good money. I'm single. I don't have a lot of expenses. And the one thing I learned from Carlton Sheets, because I never did the no money down flip thing. I was a buy and hold guy. But one thing that he said is go find a real estate group. Now, you got to remember, this is 2001. The internet, meetups, the Gino and Jake show, none of that stuff's around yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a group called Lifestyles Unlimited locally here in Houston. I'm in Houston, Texas. And I found that group. And in 2001, I bought a duplex, my first investment property. And I don't think I would have done it without help from a mentor. So if you listen to this and you're having like analysis paralysis or whatever, being part of Jake and Gino's program and having a mentor and kind of walking side by side with you was just paramount for me and for my ability to take next steps. Then actually on the same day, Gino, I bought a duplex, and I was a passive investor in a 100-unit apartment complex in South Houston.
All right.
Now, the duplex worked out great. I ended up calling myself the duplex king for a couple of years, and I bought like, I don't know, I think I had like 15 of them or something like that, But the 100-unit apartment complex ended up being a different story. And so the lead partner, I was a passive investor, and one of the things that they asked me if I would I sign for the note? And I did.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That's pretty different. That's not very, I wouldn't say rare, but that's pretty uncommon, isn't it?
It's uncommon.
Yeah.
And so there was three main partners, and then believe it or not, my mom was an investor, but she did not sign personally for anything. So she was just a money investor.
And Pete, time out. What made you want to sign personally for this deal? Or did you not know, or did you not understand, or?
Yeah, I honestly, Gino, agreed, right? I wanted the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be in the deal. And I thought it was a good deal. We were buying it for, I think it was 1.2 million. It was 100 units. So 120,000 a unit or something like that. It was a good deal. The lead partner was a good buddy. Matter of fact, he's still a buddy of mine. And I'm going to tell you the whole story. And you'll be like, all right, he's still a buddy. That's good. And so there was three of us that were kind of partners. One was the lead, two of us were passive, plus my mom, and two of us ended up signing for the note with the lead partner. So three people signed for the note. Mm-hmm. This is important. So I had the mentor, I hired an attorney. I'm brand new. So I will say this. I probably should not, within the first year of learning about real estate, have bought an apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the end of the day, I'm a big believer of living above the line, ownership, accountability, responsibility, or you row to a solution versus below the line, blame, excuse, denial, where you lie in bed and you try to, you don't come anywhere close to solving a solution. And so I take responsibility, but here's how the story unfolded. We get to the closing table. The mentor is there. I'm not going to say his name because he may sue me even 50 years, 15, 20 years later. But he was there. I already paid this person, I think it was back then was like $10,000 a year. Okay. So the three of us are sitting at the closing table. We don't have enough money to close. Now, you know this, you have to have 3 months of escrow for insurance and taxes.
Yes.
So the mentor, instead of like saying, hey, this can't go through, you guys don't have enough money, he brings the title outside. Now, again, remember, it's 2001. This is before 2008.
Yes.
And I'm in Texas. It's the Wild West. They ended up deciding that they're going to put those 3 months into the note. So I didn't
Ah,
have to come out, right? So we just increased the note. Today, that's called mortgage fraud. Back
yes.
then, it was called, what do you call it? Like you're outside the box thinking, right? It's creative. It was creative financing back then. Today,
Uh-huh.
it's mortgage fraud. Okay. So then that should have been like my spidey sense should have went up, right? But when you want something so bad, the signs can slap you in
Mhm.
the face and you don't know. The partnership did not have enough money. Now, here's a crazy thing. The idea of the property was to move it from a class D to a class C,
Mhm.
increase the rents, increase the NOI, and sell the property. I think it was like a 3, 4, or 5 year exit. All
Mhm.
right. And the way we were going to do that was any money we got from the property, we were going to reinvest and upgrade the property. Well, again, if you're going to do a capital improvement project, knowing what I know now, you need money to do that. You can't do it from the rents. It's just almost impossible, right? On top of that, the two properties next to this property, which by the way, our property, the crossing it was called, had no gates around it. The other two properties next to it, they were class D properties and they were not trying to become a C property. So we're doing all this work inside the units. My property manager was stealing from me. These guys were stealing from me. The people that we would deny to come into our property would go to the other cop properties, and then they would actually congregate on our property to hang out. And so it just became this thing where we just weren't making any money. And so the lead partner reached out to the bank and said, "Hey, man, we need to kind of like work on this restructure, blah blah blah." And the bank's like, "You know what? Go ahead and not pay us for right now, and we'll kind of put this mortgage on pause." And so I'm hearing this secondhand. So I ended up coming out of pocket paying $10,000 for the note for 1 month, and then we stopped paying the note. In that time, we had a balcony fall and we had a gas pipe burst. We have no money at this point. Now the city's shutting us down for the gas pipe and for the balcony. We got to like get the balcony redone. We got to get the gas pipe. It's like whatever. It was Murphy's law. Well, then the bank after a few months would told us, hey, we can restructure. They sold our property on the courtroom steps.
Oh, did they really?
Yep.
Oh my
They
god.
basically told us, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. They sold the property for more than what we owed. So we owed 1.2 million. Okay. They
Mhm.
sold the property for 1.5 million. And then because I signed personally, I personally get sued for $1.2 million. I know what you're thinking. I see your face. Like, wait a second. They sold it more. So basically, in a regular bank on a short sale, right? If you sell the property more, you don't. There was a clause in the mortgage documents, that little checkbox that said, even if we sell the property for more, if we take back the property, sell for more, you still are on the hook for the full amount. My attorney, my mentor, my lead partner, all the people that I had put in place to protect me failed. All my fail safes failed. So now there's three of us. I get sued. Now I'm just starting my real estate journey. This is like 2003, I think, at this point, right? I got a few homes. I'm still working in my W-2. I didn't start my property management business yet. And I make 100,000 a year. Sue for 1.2 million. I got to work, 11 years just to make that. That's before tax. I mean, like there's no flipping way I can do this, right? So, so one of the partners, I'm like, but I'm only a third, right? I get a third, and a third. So I don't really need 300. Well, one of the partners declared bankruptcy right away. Boom, they're out of the game. Once you declare bankruptcy, you're out of the property management. You're out of the real estate game. And so I'm talking to the lead partner. His name is Scott Ray, and he's a good buddy of mine today. And I'm talking to Scott. I'm like, what do we do? He's like, I got, some really big firm. I'm gonna fight. He goes, you can't use them. You have to use a different. So I used like a small, attorney guy. And my buddy's attorneys let my attorney basically use all their work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what it came down to, we fought it for a while. I think it was like maybe a year. And what we finally decided is the bank kind of knew that even though it was on the deed or the mortgage docs, they knew that they couldn't do that. It was kind of illegal. So they settled for 30. I had to pay 30 grand plus I paid my attorney. I think I only paid him like 10. So it wasn't terrible. Still a lot of money to me back then, but I paid 30 grand. I had sold 3 duplexes and you can't make this up. I made $30,000 that day that I signed the deal to get my 30 grand. I get funded was the day that we settled. And like literally the next day I took that 30 grand and I paid the bank from the crossing. But part of the deal was they take it off my credit. I'm not dinged in any way. And so I was back in business. So that's how that went. And, it was just a poor plan on our part. It just was a poor plan. We couldn't rent the units. We wanted to increase the rents. We put all the money into the units. So baths, kitchens, not outside the unit, i.e. fence.
So Pete, I need to recap this for the listeners because our framework of buy right, manage right, and finance right was violated multiple times by Pete. So if you give me 1 minute, I'm going to let the listeners know what you did wrong.
Like this is a learning opportunity or a teaching opportunity.
This is the important thing. You can actually get into the game and start buying apartments day one if you understand education times action equals results. You need the education. So on the buy right component, anybody listening to this, if you're going to buy anything, whether it's a business, whether it's a single family home, whether it's a mobile home park, whatever it is, you need to have specific criteria. If you're going into a property that has low median income, I'm not going to say D. This was in a very low median income area. You can't go from a D to a C. It's going to always stay to a D. So you need to understand, you need to buy this property really, really well. Understanding that, you need to also have a CapEx budget. You need to overraise the money or at least get a loan to cost where the bank finances a certain percentage of the deal. That's on the finance portion. But understanding your buy right criteria is so important. You can't go in and put granite countertops in a D or C property and try to raise rents because you're not going to. The property is going to drop back to the level of the neighborhood. Understanding that is important. Then you can get into unit mixes. The manage right is important. Are you trying to manage this property and trying to raise rents when the market will not allow it? That's important. And the finance right component is, are you signing on this debt as a personal? Are you guaranteeing 100% of this? Because I've seen in certain instances on my second deal, Jake and I got into this. We had 4 partners. It was Jake, myself, my brother, and my current partner, Mike. The bank wanted 100% guarantee from each of us on the loan. So they wanted a 400% guarantee on a 100% loan. And I was stupid. I don't want to say stupid. I was naive like Pete. I'm like, I just want to do the deal. How do we do this? And my partner, Mike, is like, time out, guys. If you 3 bust out, I'm going to still be guaranteeing 100% of this loan. So we ended up getting it down to 30% of each partner. But understanding, reading the documents, and if you're sitting there and saying to yourself, well, 10 grand is a lot of money to pay my freaking mentor or somebody to help me coach, 10 grand is a drop in the bucket because what you're going to learn from that mentor, you're going to be able to carry with you for the rest of your life. And I look at my business partner, Mike, as that mentor because he saved me from signing on that note and every note going forward and understanding what a guarantor is. Understanding that. And when you're signing on the document, I mean, the company, the bank that you did, they're a bunch of criminals. I mean, they sold the property, they made money, they were made whole, and they still want to go after you. That's what I call just terrible business practices, because you could name that bank. We had a problem with one of our banks, BB&T, for years. We would always name them out because they gave us a term sheet. Then right around closing, they go and they change a term sheet. I'm like, guys, you told us this. And it was a guarantor situation once again, and it was a little bit of interest rates. So read the fine print. If you don't understand finance right in multifamily, you need to find somebody who's an expert, a mortgage broker. If you don't, I have a great mortgage broker, Jake and Gino. His name is Eric Stewart. He has to walk you through what you are signing, because those documents can be mind numbing if you know what you're looking at. I've thrown a lot at you, Pete, there. What did I miss? What do you think I missed in that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head on all accounts. I can't think of anything that I would add to it. Just the mentor thing is so important. The spending the money, my mentor, like, you got to find the right guy. With Jake and Gino, they care, and I know that. I've talked to Gino numerous times. My guy, I think back then, was just looking for the money because he was the broker on the deal. So he
Oh,
wanted the deal to go through. So he wanted his 3% of $1.2 million deal.
yeah.
So if your mentor is also the broker, that's a conflict of interest. So that's the only thing that I would say different.
Wow. So how did you end up starting VPM? Like, what was the whole genesis behind this? You're doing the duplexes. You're the duplex king. You're IT. By the way, anybody back in the 90s who's listening to this, everyone wanted to get into IT. I don't know why, but it was one of those industries that's very challenging because it was always changing. Every couple of years, you got to get recertified. You got to get training. And really, they treat you like crap at these companies because they expect you. It's like Con Ed or Florida Power and Light. Everything's great. The power's working. But once the system crashes, you are the devil. People hate your guts, and it's just like a thankless job. It's one of those things where it's a difficult job. So I could see you wanting to transition from being the IT guy to the duplex king. How did VPM? How did that whole idea of
So
becoming an entrepreneur come about?
before I got to VPM, I actually created Empire Industries Property Management Company. And
Oh,
so what happened was I ended up partnering with a guy named Steve Rosenberg. So Steve and I decided we're going to wholesale properties. And we did that for like a year, and wasn't my cup of tea. I don't like being on the phone. I don't like negotiating. I don't like all that stuff. And it's a great high paying job.
yes.
I like buy and hold. So I started talking to Steve into like, hey, let's buy a bunch of properties. And we bought, I think, 31 single family homes in like less than a year.
Wow. Good for you.
Yes. The problem was we loved buying. We didn't love managing. So, like, I consider, like, when you buy a deal, I consider like you're dating.
Yes.
And then when you own the deal, it's like marriage. And
Yes.
marriage can be very joyful, and it's going to provide lots and lots of results over time. But it's not super sexy, right? The dating is the super sexy thing, right?
Yes.
Making the
Yes.
kid, having the kid, right? Two different things. So we buy a bunch of properties, and now we're in around, I think we're in '05 to '08. We buy 30, 40 properties, something like that. And we're wholesaling all that stuff. And next thing you know, we are just like, we're drowning. We're drowning because rents aren't coming. And of course, we bought a bunch of low income properties. Okay.
Mhm.
And because again, I only looked at one factor. I looked at cash flow. I didn't
Yeah.
look at equity and principal pay down and, all the five pillars. I looked at one pillar.
So he's talking about buy right criteria right now, right? And the allure of buying high cap properties that may be a good solution, but that's only one component of your buy right criteria and market cycle as well. So he's buying in market cycle of 2005 to 2008, where prices are getting pushed up, and even these properties that he's buying, they're still overpaid. They're still higher than what they should be going for because we're getting into the frothiness of the market and not understanding that as a new investor, you're making a mistake with the buy right criteria. Correct, Pete?
Well, I bought them correct as far as I bought them low. I was buying them for $35,000. So
Wow.
I'm buying but I'm buying tough properties. Like stuff like I shouldn't be going in there without my gun, my vest. You know what I mean? If I had a fake badge, get my badge out. Stuff like that. But so I bought them low. I found this old investor guy. He was old. He was getting rid of his properties, so he was kind to us. Of course, all I'm doing is buying his problems. And all we're looking at is I only need to put, it's $35,000 property. I got to put 4 grand down, 5 grand down. I can make 800 a month. Oh my God, this is great. And all I want to do is buy X amount of properties, get my cash flow, and quit my job, and then become this landlord baron, right? Obviously did not work out that way because 30% of my people would get evicted. Another 30% would not pay on time. Then you have, maintenance. My make rates would cost me more than when I bought the property,
Yes.
for down payment. So we were looking for a management company. And again, 05 to '08, the internet was not what it is today. There was no bunch of management companies with thousands of Google reviews. We found this one guy and he wouldn't take our properties because they were in a really
I
bad
wonder
area. I wonder
why.
why. So we ended up, we ended up creating our own management company. And I honestly thought I created a new industry because I was hanging out with a lot of MFR guys, and every one of them like, oh no, there's multifamily property management, but not single family. That the windshield time alone is going to kill you. You'll never make that happen. And I'm
Really?
like,
You're
well,
saying that as late as 2005 to 2008? I'm surprised.
yep,
Wow, okay.
yep. No, you'll never. It'll never fly. And I'm like, well, I have to make it fly because there's no other way I'm going to survive. Like it was survival mode.
Mhm.
When I bought the properties, it was more like, hey, I want to get out of corporate America. And I didn't know how to do that with a business, so I do it with properties. When I owned the properties, I was getting ready to lose my butt for a second time. And I'm like, I cannot do that. I'm like, I need to make this work. So we created, and what was happening was Steve and I we would be like, he would call a tenant and I would call the same tenant. And he would call a vendor, I would call a different vendor. Like we were stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
So our accountant was like, hey, you need to create another LLC. I'm like, oh my gosh, sure. Of course, you're the accountant. Of course, I got to create another LLC, now I got to do another set of books. But he was completely 100% right. We created another LLC for the management. We own the properties in two other LLCs, right? Um, so we had two LLCs that own the properties. He's like, you got to create this third LLC to own the management company, and then your properties have to pay the management company a management fee. Well, we ended up finding out by the end of the first year we did this, the management company actually made money and our properties lost money. I also looked at the register and I'm like, Steve, we own 31 properties. Why are we managing 61 properties? He's like, oh, so and so needed help and so and so. So he was like a natural sales guy, right? And so now I'm third party managing. I go, hey man, I think we need to be like licensed to be third party managers. So I got my license real quick, and and what we realized is like, holy crap, we can be third party managers. Now, I'll give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is Empire from 2012 to 2019, we went from the 31 homes that we owned, the 6 that we managed, and we ended up with 984 single family homes in 3 markets, doing
Wow.
over $2.5 million, about $2.3 million a year in revenue.
Wow. How did you scale? So I got to ask you a couple of questions about this. As far as anybody listening to this, Manage Right is one of our cornerstones. It's like we love Manage Right. What are some of the things that you saw the managers or you were solving for people in real estate as far as trying to manage properties? What are some of the things that you were doing really well that they weren't doing well?
Yeah, so you think like managing properties is like, oh, you just collect rent. By the way, the first people we had, we wouldn't even collect rent. We would have the rent be sent to the owner, and then the owner would have to pay us our management fee of $50. And it
Oh,
was so low that no one would pay us. And then we were actually fronting the maintenance and covering the maintenance costs and then trying to get the money back. It was a terrible, terrible concept. But,
oh,
but
wow.
so when we finally figured this thing out, right? All of our processes got better, right? So it's not just the collection of the rent, but it's rent collection versus, sending out the letters versus, doing the eviction if you have to, right? It's the maintenance, having 800 homes. Believe me, couple of things. One is I'm going to get the AC guy out before you are, if you own one home, and two, I'm going to get a better deal because I got volume based pricing.
Mhm.
Three, he also knows us because we have a system in place. He sends me before photos, after photos, sends me the invoice. He gets paid. We track it all. We have everything in the communication. We have all the systems in place. We lease properties. We were leasing properties in 15 days when the average person was taking 23 days. So we save you money there. We increase rents. Right? I know so many self-manager landlords that the rent hasn't been increased in 5 years.
Mhm.
We increase the rent every year, right? We do CMA, we do this. So we have the systems in place, we have the people in place, we have, licensed people, and we just started building a massive system that can grow, and we were able to then duplicate that into Dallas, Fort Worth, and then Houston.
What made you want to sell the business at 2019? Was it just time for you to take a break? Was it just had gotten too big? Were you just wanted to hit a reset button? What was it?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. My business partner and I, the vision started to change.
Mm-hmm.
So his vision was he wanted to be a national company. My vision is I really wanted to actually sell Dallas and Houston and just focus on sell Dallas and Fort Worth and just focus on Houston. So our vision started fracturing. Also, we had run the business poorly in 18 and in 17, where we really didn't make a lot of money. Now, if in 19, I just stopped spending frivolously and we made a $500,000 in 19. And I paid off lines of credit and this and that. But my business partner, he ended up soliciting and getting somebody to offer us a good money for it. And he's the one who's like, I couldn't buy him out because we didn't have good financials the 2 years before.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really want to get another partner and I didn't want to take on a lot of debt. So we sold for 4.6 million is what we sold
That's
for.
a nice number, nice multiple you got on that, huh?
175.
Yeah.
So for that, they actually crept up to about 2 for a little bit. Now they're back down to about 1.5 to 2, anywhere in between that.
Mm-hmm. Those aren't sexy businesses, but if they're done well and somebody buys a property management company and they have an idea, they can start scaling. And then for me, always thinking about the multiple streams of revenue, that's a great way to start soliciting general partners and trying to get into other deals because you have the infrastructure, you have the manage rate, you have the one component that most investors are looking for. They don't understand that investing in real estate is like running a business and manage right is like running a business. And Pete's been running other people's businesses, over 900 homes worth of their businesses for the last 7 years. And if you can understand that, that is so much value for a real estate investor and for a group out there looking for somebody who can help them out, Pete.
And what I loved about the property management business, so just to finish that story, I did not want to sell, but my relationship with my business partner Steve was way more important to me than the business itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we sold the business, and what's the worst that happened? He puts a couple million in my pocket, and I got a job with the company that bought us. And the company that bought us was going to go national. They were the first, like one of the first 2 companies to try to go national for single family property management. Um, but I will tell you this, Gino, and if you're listening to this and you're thinking about selling your business, not knowing what my next move was, and I took the job just to have something to do.
Yes.
My business partner was so happy when we sold because he already had something that he was going to do and work towards. I didn't. It kind of like blindsided me. It happened really quick. And so now I'm working for a company that I'm unemployable, to be quite honest with you, at this time.
That's why you're on the podcast. We only interview people who are unemployable. That's the reality because entrepreneurs and business owners they are unemployable. They've got great stories and they've taken their lumps.
So I'm sitting there. I have more money in my bank account. I'm making more than I ever paid myself, and I'm more miserable than I ever was. And I say this because I'm like, it's money. The whole thing, money is not everything. Like once you make enough to survive and live the level of lifestyle that you like to live, like where's the purpose? What are you doing next?
yes.
And I was told that when I got this new job with this new company that I would move the needle. They use a lot of these Northern California words, right? I can move the needle and be part of something bigger, this, that. And the reality was I was a senior property manager. And all the stuff that I hated doing with my company that I gave to other people to do came back now on me. And I'm like, it ended up not working out, but I ended up starting the structure of VPM back in 2020, like right before the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
I knew when I built Empire, I had 33 people working for me. 23 of them were in Mexico doing all the property management work, and 10 of them were kind of sales management, and kind of my senior people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I went from very little profitability to a lot of profitability when I changed that structure. So I knew that I was onto something, and I knew that I can find better people because now I have a bigger pot to choose from, right? I don't have to find somebody 15 minutes from my office because of Houston traffic, right? I can find somebody as long as they have an internet connection, a computer, and I'm finding people who are bilingual. I'm finding people college educated. I'm finding people who I can pay, um, you know, a third of the cost for somebody in the US.
Mhm.
And I can actually pay them a good wage, even though it's costing me a lot less. I can pay them a good wage, and they are excited. To them, it's a career. To somebody like when I had a maintenance coordinator in Houston making $35,000 a year, it's a job, and a bad one at that for them. Their car is broken down. They have baby mama drama. They have issues outside of your purview that come into your company. And so once I figured all this out and I was able to become profitable, I'm like, can I do this? And my original intent was I had a company in Mexico. I was just going to have people work for me in Mexico, and then I was going to outsource their work. And that's kind of old school. I ended up connecting with my new business partner, Ross, who's like 30 something years old. I'm in my 50s. And he's like, I have a different idea, a different take. And he rolled out what we came with today, which is a platform that connects people. And I'm like, how much you think that would cost to build? We have no idea, right? So I'm like, it's probably like 150 grand. That was the first year. Now, so
That's awesome.
we ended up getting a product out in June of 21. Ended up also June 15th of 21 was my last day at Mind, which is the company that bought me. And it was my literally, we went live with the product on the internet in June of 21.
Wow.
And so that's how VPM came to be. But I once I got my teeth in the VPM and I started like really like we started, the product was getting closer and closer. Then I kind of got out of my depression, because I really was depressed, and I got out of my depression. And now I love building VPM. We have over 1,000 jobs. I think it's like 1,100 jobs on the platform now.
Wow.
And we run, so you can find people. We have over 38,000 people looking for work. You can find them. You can hire them to our platform, and you pay them to our platform. And that's how we make money. The virtual assistant pays us a percentage, 10%.
Mhm.
And for the company, the US company, there's no charge. There's no platform fee. There's a credit card fee, but no platform fee. And I think last year, because we're doing this in the early January of 25, last year I think we processed about 25 million in payroll last year.
Wow. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor, because I want to dive into VPM and the solutions you're providing for people today. This episode of the Jake and Gino Podcast is brought to you by Wheelbarrow Profits, the premier multifamily education community. Wheelbarrow Profits proof is in their results. Their members have closed over 86,000 units. That's over $5 billion in student deal volume. Are you serious about taking your real estate game to the next level? Do you have the confidence to take action? Schedule a call with the Wheelbarrow Profits team today and supercharge your real estate knowledge. Build lasting relationships through unparalleled networking opportunities. Obtain lasting knowledge on how to buy multifamily real estate with intensive training. Gain hands-on experience through their live events with like-minded individuals and industry professionals, all while experiencing the personal touch and family atmosphere that set them apart. Visit wheelbarrowprofits.com for more information. And we're back. That's a great story. And I really want to, before we get into VPM, take a moment and reflect on what Pete is saying. In 2019, he doesn't have another step. And people think about making money, and money is going to make you happy. And it can, maybe temporarily. But what I think Pete is saying that's important, and money does create the autonomy, which is what we crave. And money creates an opportunity for you to go out and find out what you really love to do. And that's the thing. What is Pete's why? He's sitting there going, I don't really like the property management side, but I like this tinkering side. I like building this side, and I like creating these solutions. And all of a sudden, VPM comes around, and it's like, wow, I have the money to be able to build VPM. And that's what money allows you to do. It gives you the opportunity to do things that you like. It gives you the opportunity to create impact for others. And he's bringing solutions to others in the property management space. So let's dive into VPM a little bit more and what solutions you guys are providing for the users.
Yeah. So like, most of your users own property, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might even own multifamily. They might own a bunch of single family, and they have to do stuff, right? They have to take a maintenance call. They have to, lease the property. They got to advertise the property. They got to, maybe they're looking for more properties, and they have to make a bunch of calls, and they have to do SEO and marketing and all that good stuff, right? And really, that's not, what's the best value of your time? What is your time worth, right? How much should you be making an hour? And what I realized early on was like, man, when I do maintenance coordination, that's a $12 an hour job.
Hmm.
When I am man, I'm doing, remote dialing or calling people for leads. That's like a $10 an hour job. So
Hmm.
what am I supposed to be doing with my time? I'm supposed to be finding the deals, negotiating the deals, meeting new people, being the visionary, making sure the team is is energized and kind of lead the team. My job is not to be the turn coordinator, maintenance coordinator, or I love it when guys tell me, yeah, I go to my house, I do my own plumbing. Like, why? Are you a master plumber? Do you get paid for it? Like, no, I changed out a toilet. Like,
Pete, let's be honest. If you're starting out, it's okay to do that on your first or second property if you want to get the experience and all. But by property 4 or 5, but by 50 or 60 units, it should start dawning on you that this is not where I really make my money. I don't make my money saving $100. I make my money by creating equity and having exits every 2 or 3 years with refinances or sales. That's where the value is. And if you can go out there and learn these jobs so that maybe at least you know what changing a toilet or what it should cost, and then being able to outsource that as far as the maintenance coordinator or as a property manager or as a leasing agent, and outsourcing that, having control, but being able to get a really good price. I think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, that is so much more profitable in the long run.
yeah, I think we can agree to disagree on this one. I don't think you should know. I don't think you need to know how to change a toilet. I really don't. I think you can go online and find out how much it should be to change a toilet, and you don't need to do it yourself. I think what you said though is, how do I learn how to the finance game? How do I
Mhm.
learn like how to negotiate? Like, there is education that is really more important to a real estate investor than learning how to build how to set up a toilet.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
just that. Again, I think you and I can like I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's
so
like
let me
I'm not
let me
saying.
let me yeah, let me expand on that because I sort of agree with you. But I wrote a book called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. If you're a real estate investor and your joy is going in there and doing that work, fine. Go find somebody like a Pete or a Gino who likes the finance side, partner with them so you do the gig that you love, but you have your partner make you the money because you're not making money changing toilets or doing drywall. I agree with you. I'm not saying that you need to go learn how to do that, but if that's your joy, I don't want to tell you not to do that because I want everyone in this world to create their happy money. Your happy money is building this business. Your happy money is not property managing. So you have to understand that. Now, if you get stuck in that, you have to understand ultimately in real estate, it is finding deals and finding investors. That's where you make your most money and executing the business plan. So if you're out there and you love to do the hands-on kind of stuff, go out and find somebody who can do the management and the business side of it. And you guys would make a great partnership to be able to put those two resources together. That's how I think you make money in real estate.
Yeah, or I guess you can buy properties that require a lot of capital investment, like maybe doing a lot of turns, or you're building it up, and then you can kind of run that project and be a project manager
Yes.
if you want. You can make more money that way. So I think there's lots of ways where you can be happy and learn, but also leverage and make sure that even if you're happy, you still are leveraging where you can make a lot of money, because you can't make a lot of money putting a toilet in. You just can't. So do happy, but do happy leveraging.
So what is a maintenance coordinator? For people that don't know, they've never heard of the term before, what is a maintenance coordinator?
Yeah. So in the property management world, what happens is your residents will put in a work order for maintenance. Now, somebody has to respond to that work order. Somebody has to troubleshoot with the resident. Somebody has to then dispatch a vendor, whether it's internal to your team or it's a third party company. Somebody then has to manage that third party. They have to get the before photos, the after photos. They have to verify that that if the amount is over a certain threshold, then they have to get an owner approval. If
Mhm.
it, they have to determine, is it you know um, cosmetic or not. So there's lots of decisions that go into it. But basically, you're just coordinating a maintenance between a resident and a vendor and an owner. But it becomes way more.
Yeah, well, that's one of our major key performance indicators, our KPIs, open work orders on our properties. Because you have to understand in real estate and property management, one of the main reasons why residents leave is not because you raise their rents, is because you don't listen to them. The customer service sucks. So when you have high work orders, we try to achieve at least 95% work orders completed. So if you have a 100-unit property, we want to have at least 5 or less open work orders. That's what we're shooting for. And we see when that happens, you have better resident retention, you have happier residents. And if you can nail that part of the business, you're going to have people that are going to renew, because on average 30 to 40% of your residents leave every year. It's just generally turnover. If you can cut that by 10 percentage points or 15 percentage points and keep happy residents. So when you're saying to yourself, well, how much does Pete's service cost? It's going to cost me money. I think if you do it the right way, it's not going to cost you money. It's going to save you a ton of money. Do you have any case studies or anybody that you've been working with? They're like, hey, Pete, man, you saved me a ton of money doing this. Wish I'd learned about this sooner.
So the funny thing is, it doesn't cost you any money to use our service. It's $0. What you're doing is you're actually it's called a direct hire. You're direct hiring a person, and I just do the payroll for that person for free for you, but I charge that person 10%.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. So
Yes.
so I'll give you some examples though. An average hourly rate for a maintenance coordinator in Mexico is around $12 an hour. If you want to hire somebody in the Philippines, it's around $7 an hour. A maintenance coordinator in the States is going to be around $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So at $12 an hour, that's what? That's about $24,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you for half the price, and I don't have to pay employee tax, employer payroll tax, any of that stuff, because they're a contractor. They're responsible for their own taxes.
And you get really qualified people as well, because people in Mexico who are getting that probably have degrees. They probably speak really good English, and they, like you said, they probably do want the job. It's something completely different than somebody here grumbling, I can go work in Amazon, I can be an Uber driver. Why am I doing this maintenance coordinator thing? Correct?
Absolutely. What we do on our platform is we actually have a VPM Academy. Their courses, there's one built specifically for maintenance coordinators. There's also some built for some software. Property Meld is kind of a software that's used a lot in the industry,
Yes.
that you can take those courses as a candidate and you can test out. And if you test out, you get a certification on your profile. You can then, when you post a job or when you're searching through profiles, you can search for those certifications. You could post a job saying, don't apply unless you have this certification. And then also, I would say the majority of our profiles have a profile attached to it. You
Mm.
can watch it to see if they have the English level. We also have an English test that they can take and they get scored on. So you can actually see how they score in their English. And we also have DISC. If you're familiar with personality profiling and you
Yes.
say, well, maintenance coordinator should be a C personality profile, you can actually find people that have taken the DISC and are a C. So I've tried to I've built this system the way I would want to use it when I owned Empire and when I was going to hire people. Like, how do I get a big, how do I cast a wide net? 38,000 people is a wide net. How do I reduce that net? Certifications, education, English proficiency, DISC profile. And then I do some interviews. And then I find the right person based on my core values as a company.
Wow. Pete, what's the future for VPM? Are you rolling anything out? Are you working with AI? Is there anything else that you want to expand into?
Yeah. So short-term future, meaning next 6 months, is all about data. I want to be the go-to guy for virtual team members. So Gino,
Mm.
you say, hey, Pete, how much is on average is a virtual assistant in this country for this type of job? On average, how long do they last? How long does it take to hire them? Like, we're gathering all that data and we're going to be the data repository for all things virtual team. And you'll be able to look at what your data is, and then you'll be able to look at what it is against the platform.
Oh, that's really cool. That's achievable right now with AI. I mean, the AI will allow you to do that, to be able to gather
Well,
all.
we're going to use our own data because we have over 1,000 jobs, that are
Oh,
that in
cool.
there. So we're going to start using our own data to
Mm.
do that. We'll use AI in the second half of the year to help. Like, we're going to have an AI assistant that, like, right now, if you want to do it yourself, you have to kind of figure out how to do it yourself. If you
Mhm.
wanted to do it with you, we have a free service. We call it the white glove service, where we will walk with you through the process. And then if you say, hey, I don't have time, I want you to do it for me, we have a paid for service called the Gold Glove, where we'll do it all for you. And we have like this 10-point scoring system. And we have all these ways that we kind of calculate it. I want to take the way we do it for Gold Glove. I want to build an AI assistant, and you can pay a smaller fee to have the AI assistant just kind of guide you through the process, along with so many other AI can do. It's
How can
crazy.
the listeners get a hold of you? How can they get more information about the company? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can email me, Pete at vpmsolutions.com is probably the easiest way. I actually read my own email. I don't have an assistant that does it. So so it would actually get to me. And if you put in the title, Jake and Gino, and I will give you 30% off or $500 off anybody who wants to do Gold Glove. If they want to hire somebody and they want us to do it for them, that's usually $1,500 for you guys. I'll do it for $1,000.
That's awesome. Jake, at this time of the show, always wants me to recap the story. And I love your story, Pete, from 1992, getting into IT. I had a lot of friends back then getting into IT and saying, this is great. I like the job. I'm making six figures, but there's something more. I mean, this whole rich dad, poor dad thing, this book is really, I've got an itch and I got to scratch it. I got to really go and buy a couple of duplexes. And all of a sudden, I'm the duplex king. I get to this apartment thing. The apartment thing is pretty cool. Like 100 units. What can go wrong? I can sign in the debt. I got my mentor here. All of a sudden, I don't have enough money to close the deal. But anyway, we're going to ram it. And back then, you could do shit like that, or you could do stuff like that. But nowadays, they call it mortgage fraud. But back then, hey, it was the Wild West, literally in Houston, Texas. Deal goes through. Then all of a sudden, Pete wishes he had Jake and Gino back then because he didn't buy it right. He didn't manage it right. And he didn't finance it right. But that's okay because he made the mistake. And then he said to himself, this is not for me. Let me get into the single family space. I'm going to start buying these small homes. Hey, 30 grand, what can go wrong? I'm going to buy these homes. I got 30 homes. No one's doing this. All of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap. I don't know what we're making here. I got money coming in. What are we doing here? How we have to figure this thing out. How do we scale this? And back then, very rare, not very common to have single family homes on a platform to property manage. He figures that out. He starts a company called Empire for the next 6-7 years. Starts trudging along the entrepreneurial journey. He's making enough money to pay for his mistakes. That's the definition of an entrepreneur. And finally, one day, the vision that Pete has, he's like, you know what? I want to sell 2 of these districts. My partner wants to go national. Listen, I value my relationship with my partner more than I do this business. Let's just sell. The problem with Pete is he didn't have a next step. He sold. He thought he's going to go sit on the beach, relax, have a couple of Coronas. He's like, bro, I don't want to do that. That just sucks. I'm going to continue to work with this company. But now this company is giving me work that I just was outsourcing before. Now I'm doing the work that I hate. I'm still making good money, but life is not all about money. Life is really, to me, at this point in my life, I want to create something. I want to build something. I want to change the world. I want to create impact. And I start VPM. I'm like, no one doesn't even know what virtual assistants are. I know what I would have wanted in my business. Let me build something that will solve problems for people in property management and save them a ton of money. And let me build the systems and the processes. For instance, a maintenance coordinator. Most people don't have a maintenance coordinator. Unfortunately, Jake and I, we really didn't have one. We didn't even know what that meant up until a year ago. But what the amazing part is, as he's building the system out, it hasn't gone overnight. It's been already almost 5 years since he's built it. And now he's seen the vision. It's all about data. It's all about providing the solutions for anybody in property management. So if you're out there looking to hire a virtual assistant, reach out to Pete. It's vpmsolutions.com. Go out there and at least have the conversation. Try not to hire a virtual assistant all on your own and saying, hey, I'm only paying this person $3 an hour. My dad, God bless his soul, the Italian man that he was, you get what you pay for. Don't look at the price, look at the value, because I'm sure if Pete back then looked at the value of the multifamily he was buying, he sure as hell wouldn't have paid that price, or he would have paid a lot less. So Pete, I want to thank you for being on the call. Any final last words?
My life in my last 30 years of my life in about 3 minutes. You did an amazing job. Thanks for having me on, Gino.
Thanks, brother. And listen, everybody, the slogan, the motto is real people doing real deals. And if you're a real person out there looking for a real solution, make sure you check out Pete Neubig. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you on next week's show.